Now, in other news, the ACDP leader, that's the leader of the African Christian Democratic Party, Reverend Kenneth Meshoe, has tested positive for COVID-19. He contracted the virus during a religious gathering in Bloemfontein in the Free State province. Meshoe was tested after 5 foreign nationals who had attended the same meeting had also tested positive. He's currently in isolation and is joining us now via Skype. Ntate Moruti, good morning and thank you very much for your time. First up, how are you feeling? How are you now?
Well, good morning, brother, and thank you very much for having me on your program. Mine is a very interesting story, in the sense that the Department of Health came to test me after a story broke in the news that I tested positive. And until that story broke, I had never been tested. So when they came, one of the officials after the screening said to me, "But you look healthy." And I said to him, "I am definitely healthy. I don't have a single symptom of what is said to be found among those that are positive. I'm not coughing. I'm not sneezing. I don't have temperature. I'm looking good and I'm feeling good." And then he said to me, "Well, with some people, it takes about 14 days for the symptoms to start appearing. And he said in some extreme cases, 21 days. So they advised me to isolate, and I accepted that, which was Sunday the 22nd. So from Monday the 23rd, my wife and I were in isolation. So they would call almost daily from the clinic to ask how I was feeling, whether there was any symptom appearing, and I said, I still look fine, I still feel good, no symptom, no symptom. Every day it was just the same story, no symptom. So yesterday we did 21 days, and still I am as healthy and feeling as good as I did last year this time. So it is a very, I said, for a lack of a better word, maybe a mystery that the Department of Health or the Minister of Health need to give an explanation for. The reason I was tested was because of fake news. That time it was fake news because I had never been tested by anybody.
Okay, there was fake news in the beginning about you being COVID-19 positive. Then the Department of Health sent its health professionals to come and test you. What was the result of that test that was done by the health professionals that were dispatched to your home by the health department?
Now, the result of that test was obviously positive. And that is where the mystery is that after 21 days, a person still is like he was before, because even before they came, I never felt sick. And I don't feel sick even right now. I'm feeling good.
And what did your wife test as, positive or negative?
Well, both of us, and obviously we expected the results to be positive because of the fake news that were there. And we were never asked who tested you before, how did and where did this fake news start. That question still has to be answered. So we expected the results to be positive so that they would be in line with the news that was been spreading. And so we are looking for answers ourselves.
So as we sit here today, as far as you and Mrs. Meshoe know, you are COVID-19 positive. You've tested like that. That's number one. Even after the fake news, there was a confirmation then by the health authorities. But since the 23rd of March, you've been in self-isolation. 21 days has come and gone. You're still feeling normal. You're feeling healthy. You've never, not once, had a fever, coughed, or felt sick.
Not once, not once. And I'm considering going for another test so that we bring this matter to closure, because I can't on paper have documents that say you're positive, and yet I'm feeling as good and as healthy as I've ever been.
Yeah, from what I have seen and read from websites like the World Health Organization and others, there are people who carry, and Dr. Mkhize himself, the health minister, I've seen him speaking in a number of press briefings, there are people who carry the COVID-19 virus with them up to 21 days without getting sick, and then they can spread it without even knowing. So you've done the responsible thing, you and Mrs. Meshoe, by self-isolating, even though you are not sick.
Yes, sir, we did the responsible thing, because that was what we advised to do, and we accepted that advice. And the interesting thing is that, the 18th of last month, we had a meeting with the president and party leaders. And all the people who were there who tested are all negative. The president was... all the leaders were there.
Were negative, but you then tested positive on the 22nd, 4 days later, and then from the 23rd you've been in self-isolation. How soon and how quickly do you hope to do the next test, you and Mrs. Meshoe?
I think it will be within the next 5 to 10 days.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting case here. And neither you nor I are doctors, neither you or I are epidemiologists. We're not qualified to make an assessment properly without you going for that test. But I'm sure you are pleased in a way that you have not gotten sick, despite the fact that you were tested positive for COVID-19.
Well, I'm very pleased, and my family is pleased, and actually people who go with me to church said when they heard the news, they were all shocked because they saw me, I was as healthy and vibrant as they know me to be, and they said, how is this possible? How is this possible? I said, well, let's wait and see what happens. They said 14 to 21 days. After the 21 days, we'll see what happens and we'll start talking, because until yesterday, I refused to take interviews because I wanted to watch these days in isolation and then start talking thereafter. So after the testing that I'm planning to do within the next 5 to 10 days, then we'll have another discussion. And I'm sure it will be good news that you are negative.
Yeah, because if everything that we have read, the incubation of this coronavirus, COVID-19, is up to 21 days in extreme cases, as you said, and you were told, and we've read as well. Hopefully you'll be negative now. What will you do after testing next, and you are found to be negative? Are you going to resume your normal life? And ahead of that, will you still remain in self-isolation until you know the results of the new test?
Well, obviously, I'm in communication with the department. And as a public figure, I have to be exemplary in my conduct. If they say to me, hang in there, keep in isolation, I will not fight them. I will cooperate, even though I feel okay in my body. And then once I've tested and the results are negative, then we'll have another kind of discussion. But one thing that I definitely am very keen to know is who started this fake news, what was the reason, what was the motive, is there an agenda? This one I definitely, after lockdown, I'm planning to pursue.
Yeah, and that fake news was before you were tested, and it was already, a few days before, it was already going around that Reverend Kenneth Meshoe is COVID-19 positive. You want to get to the bottom of that because you had never been tested before, but somebody else was already claiming that your status was positive.
Yes, sir. Because otherwise, the name of and the image of the journalists in the country will become tainted. We will become tainted. You know, we respect journalists, we respect the media, we respect you all guys, you're doing a great job, but it is not fair for somebody to start such news knowing that people have families, people have friends, some of them have feelings, obviously all of them have feelings, they have emotions, they feel pain, and some of them will tell you, when I went to Pick and Pay and people saw me, they avoided me, some of them ran away from me like I was a leper. You know, experiences like this are not nice. So we would want to know if somebody does something like this and just start a blatant lie. Is it because they deliberately want to hurt somebody? Is it because they hate that person, or what is the motive? That is the question I'm wrestling with. What is the motive, or what is the agenda? And I'm going to do everything possible to come to the root of the question and also the answer.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'm sure we're all pleased, and many of your fellow worshippers and supporters of the ACDP will be pleased to know that you are healthy and well, and you have observed the 21 lockdown strictly, and now you look forward to the new test, and we'll touch base with you after you've done that test.